So the official global server update details are now here for January the 22nd. Maintenance will last about 2 hours starting at the usual times. This contains pretty much everything we covered in our previous video, but I also want to take the opportunity to have a look at some player reports. There are some critical issues that this patch is not addressing. This update's already out here on the Korean server and we can see those changes. They pretty much solely revolve around PvP balancing. So Fireball Barrage will have a new specialization, Penetrating Flame, to reduce the damage reduction of your target. And also Summon Constellation will have a new specialization to reduce block chance. For some reason they've gone and improved Stellar Dash damage, the orb effect, while you have Summon Satellite active in PvP. It's now increased to 181%, but they reduce the amount of monster damage so that damage in PvE is unaffected. All these changes are confirmed in our global patch notes here. Just be aware, however, the specialization cannot be activated alongside the mana burn specialization for your Fireball Barrage. We can see it's grayed out and has that red text. As for Wand, the Dark Apostasy Weapon Mastery here, which changes 3 of your skills to damage skills, will have those damage skills now being able to reduce target's damage reduction and block chance. And here is the exact details for the orb change. So you've gone from 145% up to 181%, but only for PvP, since they've reduced the monster damage down from 100% to 60%. They've gone and fixed that longbow bug. A player was reporting that here back on the 15th. And for Battlegrounds, they're making some further changes with regards to that Indomitable Roar buff. So if you're losing by 20,000 points or more, now you will gain that 15% attack power and 10% less damage taken. If you're losing by 50,000 or more, you gain that 25% attack buff and minus 20% damage taken. And that's it for the update details. There are some key things that they're just not addressing. Taking a look at some player reports. Shield block penetration, a key stat to counter tanks, just does not work properly, according to this guy's tests. And I've seen reports of this for a long time now. You only benefit from shield penetration when attacking a tank from the front. In some ways this makes sense. Technically, a tank should not be able to block on their sides or their back, but apparently they can. And with block penetration not working from the sides and the back, this just doesn't make any sense. And for a class like Crossbow, with a specialization where it makes all your attacks basically be back attacks, really screws your penetration over, and so you end up just not being able to make any use of that stat. So that's a pretty important one that they should be fixing to balance tanks, or at least have the ability for people to counter tanks better. Another bug report here from a player is the fact your Distortion Veil with your Guardian Satellite is apparently not being boosted by that 20% per orb with Healing Star. It's not giving that 20% despite taking up an orb slot. You can only have 3 orbs out. So you could gain 60% buff to your shields, but if you have Healing Star out, you can't. But I've not personally tested to confirm if that's true. Another report, pretty important for Crossbow, is Mother Nature's Protest is not working with the Fire Arrow to reduce your cooldowns with Selfless Diffusion. Depending on your builds, this can be pretty big, particularly if you're newer and don't have a lot of cooldown speed. You can gain a lot of benefit by having your Mother Nature's on flame here, and when you attack your target, apply those weakens, you gain that extra cooldown reduction. And apparently with last week's change, it broke something here. And this is not the only report. There's another from this guy and another here. And it should be very easy to replicate this. Now moving on to something I made a video about a while ago with collecting Amitois. This is the Korean server, but it seems pretty impossible to get the Sage of Pure White Izzy. It should technically drop from the Talandre Flying Whale. And additionally, the Wandering Youth Genesis is just not available either, as we can no longer mine those nodes, both of which confirm in game that they do not say where they come from. So they probably are just not available, giving credit to this player's report. And these can be very useful to give you that extra item chance. The next one is another really important one for PvP balance. Healers, particularly oracles, are able to take advantage of different levels of skills and stacking the shields. With the previous update, they intentionally made shields not be able to stack, but apparently you still are if you use different levels of the skill. So a distortion veil on tier 4 can stack with a tier 5. This is pretty game breaking in terms of balance for those min-max groups. You're able to run around with 2 healers and just stack shields to crazy amounts. And this seriously needs to be addressed in terms of PvP balance. As for the Tevent daggers, people are saying the cooldown passive doesn't really seem to apply at all, along with a bug with Excavator Wand, not reducing swift heal per cast, meaning you can heal for a significant amount with this, versus it should get reduced down to 40% on the third heal. And finally, a report here, which is just really annoying if you play on action mode. It's been like this since forever. When you go, you get a queue, the thing pops up to accept the queue, or you're waiting on people to accept the queue. It basically puts you into cursor mode, and the only way to play the game is in tab target, using the mouse to control, like this here, your character, which is, just really annoying when you want to play on action mode, especially if you're mid-combat, flying, things like that. Just one of those many improvements they could do to action mode to make this game feel so much better. But they just don't seem to do, because probably the devs don't give a damn about it because they all play tab target. Tico himself mentioned this is a tab target game, not action mode, when I requested that they would improve action mode as one of the key areas I would like in this game. He did not think very highly of my suggestion, but from my experience and my friends, they didn't want to play the game because they came from Neverwinter into Throne and Liberty, where action combat is just so clunky and not refined. And that's the initial experience you get when you pick up the game. You select the action combat mode, you expect it to work like an action combat mode, and it just half the time doesn't. Targeting is still hard locked. But that's about it. A special thank you to all my channel members, and we'll see you guys around.